Beware the falling objects. Over in southwest China, online footage shows what appears to be a rocket booster crashing into a wooded village, sending plumes of yellow smoke into the air.
Those images, what we do know from U.S. Space Command is that the booster re-entered Earth's atmosphere over the Indian Ocean a short time ago.
In the latest incident, a major embarrassment came China's way.
Chinese spent rocket actually plummeted out of control just last year, raining debris and damaging some buildings in the African nation of Ivory Coast.
Billion-dollar rockets erupting into fireballs, harmful debris raining from the sky, threatening lives and destroying communities. This is the thrilling yet terrifying reality of China's space program, and it only appears to be getting a lot worse. Are these technological missteps? Or could something more dangerous be at play? Today, we're diving deep into the chilling truth behind China's rocket failures and why it keeps happening despite their rapid advancements in space technology. It's no secret that China has skyrocketed to the top of the space game in the last 20 years. The Red Nation has launched space stations, sent probes to the Moon and Mars, and in 2019, pulled off a jaw-dropping stunt by being the first country to land on the far side of the Moon.
This lunar mission marks a milestone for the nation's space industry.
However, despite these groundbreaking milestones over the past few years, a disturbing pattern has emerged. A series of rocket failures and explosions that have been too impossible to ignore. From launch pad malfunctions to mid-flight disasters, China's space race journey has been hit with everything from technical glitches to full-blown catastrophes. As a result of these repeated setbacks, China has earned the title of the most criminally irresponsible space program on the planet. But what led to the latest twist in this unfolding narrative? But before we dive into the details, let's examine the series of events that brought us here. Just this August, in a bold attempt to challenge SpaceX's Starlink constellation, China's state-owned Shanghai Spacecom technology launched 18 internet satellites into orbit, setting the stage for what many anticipated would be a monumental achievement. However, what should have been a proud moment quickly turned to disaster when the upper stage of the rocket, after successfully deploying the satellites, suddenly exploded. After this disastrous launch, space tracking company Leo Labs diligently analyzed radar data and uncovered a rather troubling revelation. The launch had propelled over 700 pieces of debris into space. In fact, just last year, one satellite operator had to maneuver its spacecraft to avoid a potential collision with a piece of Chinese debris. These debris are now hurtling through space and putting over 1,000 satellites and other objects at risk of collision. But it gets even worse. Due to the massive amount of debris generated and the significant risk it poses to operational satellites, this event now stands out as the largest space debris catastrophe known to man.
Space debris and spacecrafts both travel at incredibly high speeds, so even a little piece of debris can sometimes just puncture one of those things. And with more and more satellites being launched all across the world, space junk is going to become a much bigger problem.
However, this isn't the only isolated incident this year. In June, what was supposed to be a simple static fire test of the Long March 3rd launch vehicle spiraled into chaos when the rocket unexpectedly launched and crash-landed in central China. This tragedy occurred after the first stage of the Tianlong 3 ignited normally during a hot test, but unexpectedly detached from the test bench due to structural failure, crash landing in hilly terrain nearly a mile away from the city of Gongyi in central China. Footage that surfaced online shows part of the rocket developed by Space Pioneer, a private company, breaking free from its test bench and crashing into the surrounding area before igniting a local fire.
What's crazy about this is that it's not the only time it's happened. This is in fact the 4th time in a row every year a Chinese rocket has crashed.
In 2022, another Chinese rocket stage exploded after deploying its payload, creating a similar field of debris and bringing China's lack of safety regulations to the forefront. And, just a year earlier, one of the most shocking incidents occurred when a Long March 5B rocket spiraled wildly out of control after launch, crashing back to Earth and showering debris across the Indian Ocean in a breathtaking spectacle. But that's not all. That same year, the China Yunhai satellite broke apart and met a dramatic fate after being hit by a piece of space debris. Talk about bad luck, and let's not forget April 2020, when a Long March 3B rocket malfunctioned shortly after launch, destroying the Indonesian $220 million satellite, Nusantara 2.
That's a lot of money, kids.
One thing is clear, these incidents are not just isolated events. They reveal a growing trend in China's ambitious space travels. Take the recent explosion of a Long March rocket, for example. In an instant, the Long March rocket left hundreds of pieces of debris floating in space. This debris, if not tackled head-on, could collide with other spacecraft, triggering a catastrophic chain reaction. The thought is chilling. Imagine a bunch of collisions that could mess up certain orbits and completely disrupt global communications and scientific exploration. The stakes have never been higher, but it's not just about the debris floating around, though. Every failed rocket launch represents a missed opportunity for China's space ambitions, lost payloads, postponed scientific missions, and potential damage to China's international partnerships. What happens if these issues aren't resolved soon? Well, China's reputation in the global space community could take a serious hit.
It's trashing its reputation internationally, and it's causing a whole lot of countries, companies, and populations to reassess their plans to engage with China politically and economically.
And here's the kicker. Despite the Chinese government's intention to promote its space exploration efforts, the safety of its launch operations has been called into question. Time and time again, there have been repeated sightings where these rockets have carelessly launched over populated and rural areas, placing countless lives at risk. What's really concerning is that as the rocket comes crashing down, it leaves a trail of hydrazine, leaving communities to deal with the nasty fallout from toxic rocket fuel.
China's rockets are dumping cancer-causing hazardous chemicals.
So these people are just chilling, and a giant chunk of metals falls from the sky. Oh my God.
It's an alarming thing for them to be doing.
Even more alarming are the explosions that occur close to populated regions in Chinese villages. These incidents are enough to raise eyebrows at the lack of regulatory oversight and the disregard for public safety. But while the rate of these incidents raises urgent concerns, the burning question on everyone's lips is, why does this keep happening so often? Well, a lot of it has to do with China's ambitions, with China's relentless quest for technological supremacy and a burning desire to assert its influence on the global stage. Its space program is under immense pressure to compete with the US and Russia. And with a staggering space budget of over $11 billion, the pressure is on for Chinese leader Xi Jinping to establish the country as a dominant space power and keep ramping up missions to compete with other major world powers, including the United States, though it's clear they still have a ways to go.
Well, you don't need to be an astrophysicist to know that. But please continue.
It's very clear. China's goal under President Xi has been to become a leader in innovation and technology.
This has resulted in aggressive timelines and frequent launches, which often lead to shortcuts in China's design and testing. To keep up with these aggressive demands, engineers are often pressured to launch these rockets even when the systems aren't fully ready. As a result, instead of taking the necessary time for thorough testing, these rockets are sometimes launched prematurely, leading to catastrophic failures like the ones we've seen recently. Take SpaceX's Crew Dragon program, for example. It underwent tons of uncrewed test flights before finally taking astronauts to the International Space Station. This careful preparation highlights how different it is from some of China's rushed missions, where the push to launch often takes priority over proper testing. The reality is, if China prioritizes safety and environmental protection as it gradually builds up its space program, it would mean slow, expensive testing to guarantee that everything can be launched safely. This cautious approach will inevitably lead to delays in launches, leaving China to watch helplessly as the US strides ahead in the race for space dominance. Another major problem lies in quality control within China's aerospace manufacturing. Unlike NASA and SpaceX, where every part of the rocket is put through rigorous testing and checked over and over, China's approach has come under fire for being far less stringent. Just like its launches, a lot of China's rockets are built under serious pressure from its government to meet tight deadlines. This relentless pressure creates a dangerous reality where speed often comes before careful attention to detail. This rush can also mean that critical parts, like its engines, its fuel systems, and the overall structure, don't get tested enough. And when China keeps cutting corners during testing, they are basically setting the stage for something to go wrong during the launch. Ultimately, if China doesn't step up and embrace these rigorous practices, their space program might keep hitting setbacks.
They haven't played by the rules.
Another factor in the mix is China's reliance on older, more dangerous fuel types. Take the Long March series, for instance. While the latest models have started to embrace cleaner, safer fuel options, many older rockets are still using hydrazine. Now, hydrazine might sound fancy, but don't be fooled. It's highly volatile and significantly increases the risk of catastrophic explosions. And yes, this risk is real and continues to loom over certain launches. So while China is making strides in many areas of aerospace, this fuel issue remains a ticking time bomb. Which leads us to another important question. Can China get its issues with the exploding rockets sorted out? The short answer is yes, but it's going to take a lot more than just quick fixes. With plans to build a base on the moon and crewed missions to Mars in the works, China's space program will need to prove that they can handle the pressure. To do this successfully, China needs to overhaul its approach to space exploration. And, although the road ahead is long and uncertain, the good news is that they're aware of these problems, and there are signs that they're working on improvements. Will China rise to the occasion and fix its recurring rocket failures? Or will these explosions continue to haunt their ambitious space dreams? Only time will tell. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more insight into space exploration.